Well, good morning. Welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. So glad to have you with us. I made a little treat last night. It was a new idea that I've never made before. Keto tacos and tostadas. Grandson's home from the army and I wanted to make him a great treat. He's pretty careful with his diet and he was very happy with these. I'm going to show you how to make them, but first, if you will, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and you'll get new videos when I post them if you just click the little bell in the top right. Now let's get cooking. So I don't make tacos very often. It's been a long time, so I'm going to make up some seasoning. And you know, if you don't keep a variety of spices, you can buy a pack of taco seasoning. But I do, and I don't make them very often. It's been years, actually, since I've made tacos. This is a scant tablespoonful of chili powder. And you may want to make yours with more than a scant tablespoonful. I like to keep the heat down just a little bit. So you can put as much chili powder as you want as the base of this. As much as 2 tablespoons, if that's how you like it. Then I'm going to add paprika. 1 teaspoonful of paprika. I love paprika. Brings a beautiful color and a nice, sweet, smoky flavor. And I like that both in chili and in tacos. Now I've got here some onion powder. And I'm going to put about a half teaspoonful of onion powder. As soon as I get this measured out, my onion powder is kind of hard to get to. So half teaspoonful of onion powder. And then I'll get some garlic powder, half teaspoonful of that. Full disclosure, when my grandson Elijah tasted it, he wanted more garlic. So I put more garlic in. But generally speaking, a half teaspoonful is enough here. You know, one of the things about making your own spice packets and seasoning is if you try it this way and it's not what you want, you can always add a little bit more of one thing or another. And now I've got cumin. And I'm going to add a whole teaspoonful of cumin. But it's kind of far down in the jar, so I'm going to do that by half teaspoonful. Cumin is just probably my favorite spice, maybe behind garlic. But I add it to things often that folks don't think about using it in. It's more a flavor enhancer to me than it is a spice, but it just really deepens the flavor of so many things. And then I've got some oregano here, and I use about a half teaspoonful of oregano. And that's really about it. I'm not adding salt because I'll add salt directly to the meat. Oh wait, important thing, red pepper flakes. You know, these red pepper flakes that's about a 1/4 teaspoonful of red pepper flakes. My friend Zach on Debbie's Back Porch grows some wonderful peppers, and he sent me a pack of dried red peppers that are not super hot, just actually a little bit less than medium hot. And these are just crushed red peppers with some of the seeds in them. And you just stir this up. And my onion powder actually is a little clumped there, so I'm having to, that's why I had such a hard time getting it out of the jar. And I'm going to just mash that up really good. Make sure there's no clumps. And that's all it is. You know, it's just adding some flavor to the meat. But I'm also in this gonna use some of my homemade salsa, and in that there's some cilantro, and of course the onions and tomatoes, and the peppers, of course. So I've browned off about a pound of ground beef, and it didn't have a whole lot of fat in it. It was pretty lean ground beef. If your ground beef had any more fat than that, you'd really want to drain some of it off. So now I'm going to salt it, and I'll taste it in a bit to make sure that's enough salt, but I'm pretty sure it is. It was, I didn't measure it, but it was probably close to a teaspoonful. And then I'm going to add my taco seasoning. And you can do this to taste. You may or may not use all of what we made up. You can just double or triple that recipe and then put it in a little separate jar. And here's my salsa, and I have drained the liquid off of it. If you do any canning, I have a video of how I make the salsa and can it and have it on the shelf anytime I want it. So I'm just going to turn the heat down really low on this and let it sit here on the stove while I make the shells. So the taco shells, Tostados shells, are made from cheese. Just cheese, nothing else but cheese. Grated cheese. And I have to apologize. I think I told you in a previous video that you couldn't use packaged grated cheese. And I think I told you that because I had always been told that. I was wrong. Whoever told me was wrong. This is a little package of the 3 cheeses. It's mozzarella, white cheddar, yellow cheddar. Very finely grated. I don't always use pre-grated cheese. And lots of cooking snobs are going to tell you, oh, you can't use it. It has wood in it. It doesn't have wood in it. It has cellulose in it to keep it from clumping. Cellulose is the same stuff you find in cabbage and broccoli. It's a naturally occurring fiber. And there's not a whole lot of it in the cheese. But some folks won't use it, and that's fine. Grate your own. I usually grate my own. But my grandson's home, and I'd actually rather be talking to him. So, in here we're putting the cheese. Now, what I have here are little crumpet rings. You don't have to use that. If you have some kind of a round form, it's helpful, but it's not required. What you want to do to make these work for taco shells is you need to make them thick enough so that after you cook them, they're still bendable. And you don't have to bend them at all. You can just make it all Tostados. But for this, I particularly wanted to try to form them into taco shells after they were cooked. I'm not going to cook them with these little molds on. I'm just using them to help me make a pretty clean circle and to hold all the cheese, to get the cheese a little higher and thicker than if I were making just cheese crisp. The other thing I want to tell you about these is there are recipes and videos for cheese crisp and parm crisp. My personal opinion is they don't cook them long enough. When they come out, no matter what you do, they're still chewy in the middle. And I like mine crisp. Now, once these have filling in them, they don't actually crunch like just the crisp do, because you're adding liquid and other ingredients. But this is going to give you a nice crisp, handing it off there to Elijah, finished product. And that's the way I like them. And I cook these 18 minutes in a preheated 350 oven, and that gives me just the texture I want. So now I'm going to form the taco shells. And I didn't mention, and it's very important, you must use some kind of a liner for your pan. They will stick to your pan, even a non-stick pan. And I use a Silpat liner. You can use a piece of parchment. So I've got 2 little bowls here because I can put 3 on a bowl. If I were making a whole bunch of these, I would get out my pasta drying rack. But you can be creative and find something, just something you can drape them over so that as they crisp up, they'll be in the form of a taco shell. And a warning, you must do this quickly. And if you don't feel like you can work quickly enough, make them just 3 to a pan, because they pretty quickly cooked for the 18 minutes that I prefer, set up into a shell, and then they'll break when you try to fold them. See, these are already getting pretty crisp. So I'm only going to make 6 of these in the taco shells, and the other 6 I'm going to leave flat and make into Tostados. But all I have to do now is let these sit here and dry and cool a little bit, and these will be perfect little taco shells. The other ones I'm taking out of the oven now. Let me move these over a little bit, and then I'll show you the tostada shells. They're really simple. Now, these are done and cooked for 18 minutes at 350. They're going to look very brown to you. They're not at all scorched. One reason they look brown is the cheese I started with. Usually you make Parm crisp with these, and they don't look brown when you're done. And some of that's the light on my camera. But these are actually just perfect. There's no burnt flavor to them at all. But they stick. You see, this is why you have to use some kind of a liner. But as they cool, they'll loosen. See, the center of it is still a little soft. But when these cool off, they'll be just like a potato chip or like a tortilla, except with about 1 gram of carbs a piece. And ooh, you know, these are so good. I've got a video of just making just these to use, smaller ones, to use with some kind of dip. They just go great with just dipping in some salsa, but actually any kind of dip. So if you see all that oil that's cooked out of these, we need to drain them. So I just sort of just put them on a paper towel, let them cool a little bit, and let some of that oil drain off of them. There you go. Now, I've already sliced up some lettuce and chopped some tomato finely. And then I've got some salsa and some sour cream and some more cheese. And I'm going to come right back and put these all together. So I have everything assembled here, and note of warning. Oh, look at that. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. You want to do these on a paper towel because we used grated cheese. The final product is kind of lacy. It has little holes in it. And any oil that's left in the meat, any fat or liquid that's left in the meat, and the liquid that's going to be in this little tiny bit of salsa we're going to put on here, it's all going to go right through it. So you want to assemble these on a paper towel or something absorbent, and then before you actually put them on a plate. So I'm going to use a little pecani sauce here. Got my sour cream on there. Going to add a little pecani sauce. I actually love paste pecani sauce. I make my own salsa, but I used all that in the, or almost all of that, in the taco meat. So I'm what I have here is some paste pecani sauce, which is my favorite that you can buy in the store. So when you're counting your carbs, note that I'm putting just a tiny amount of each one of these things on each little taco. Probably the highest carb item here is the tomatoes, and you're using maybe a tablespoonful or less of tomatoes. And I figure each one is probably, it's not going to exceed 3 grams of carbs, depending on what you choose out of this to put on here. And of course, you're free to put whatever you like. And then some more cheese, just because, well, cheese. Who doesn't love cheese? So that's my taco. I'm going to make a tostado here. And I'm going to crunch that little piece there that broke off. So just your taco meat. And some sour cream. Lots of people don't put sour cream on their tacos. I've heard that's a rumor that some people don't put sour cream on their tacos and burritos, and I don't know any such people, I don't think. Not in my family. When I make chili, I take a great big heaping tablespoonful of sour cream and plop it right in the middle. Because to me, they go together. So here's my little bit of pecani sauce. See the tiny amounts of things that you use on this. Mostly it's meat and cheese. And if you eat keto, you eat a lot of meat and cheese. This is just another form of the same thing. So my little bit of tomato and my little bit of lettuce. There you go. And my little bit of more cheese. And these are ready. I'm going to make one more of each for myself and then open the taco bar. And the guys here, the grandsons, can make their own the way they want them. I'll be back. And that's really all there is to it. You don't get hungry on a keto diet, you get bored. And this is just a way to take the same ingredients that you always eat, meat and cheese and a little safe vegetables, and putting them together in a way that is, it's so tasty. And it's a variety, and it helps you get the textures that you miss sometimes when you're eating keto. And that cheese taco, you don't notice that it's a cheese taco. I mean, this is just a taco. It has a nice crunch when you bite into it. It helps satisfy that craving you have sometimes, or that I have. Maybe it's just me. If you're a taco lover, these won't disappoint. And to be fully honest with you, I actually like these cheese crust better than I do the tortilla crust. So I hope you try this recipe. I hope you love it. And I hope to see you again tomorrow.